Hello, welcome to the Self Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 6 Structure and Function. In this, we conclude the unit. Parsons' AGIL model is an ideal type, applicable more to differentiated societies than simple societies. In the latter case, institutions may collapse into one, with the result that the same institution may perform different functions. The example of family may be cited here, which carries out economic, political, and religious functions, in addition to the functions traditionally assigned to it, like socialization of the young. In communist society, the party may decide the aspects of economy, the processes of production and distribution, and thus adaptation and goal attainment may appear indistinguishable. Parsons' theory, of popularly known as the grand theory, an all-encompassing unified theory, which is believed to have a large explanatory power. However, Parsons' student Robert Merton is skeptical of such a theory, for it is too general to be much use. Instead, he expresses his preference of mid-level theories, which cover certain delimited aspects of social phenomena, such as groups, social mobility, or role conflict. Partially because of this middle range strategy, Merton's functionalism is quite different from that of the Parsons. For instance, Merton abandons the search for any functional prerequisite that will be valid in all social systems. He also rejects the idea of the earlier functionalist that recurrent social phenomena should be explained in terms of their benefit to society as a whole. For criticism, Merton identifies the three postulates of earlier functionalists given below. The first is postulate of functional unity of society. It is an assumption that there is unity in society which comes about because of the contributions that parts make to the whole. The second postulates of the universal functionalism. It is an assumption that all social and cultural forms have positive functions, which are for the maintenance and well-being of society. And the postulate 3 is postulate of indispensability. It is an assumption that the function that a social or cultural form performs is an indispensable precondition for the survival of society. Merton notes that none of these postulates are empirically justifiable. For instance, there is no reason to suppose that a particular institutions are the only one to fulfill the functions. Empirical research shows that there may be a wide range of what Merton has termed functional alternatives that may be able to perform the same function. With a critical look, Merton tries to attempt what he calls a codification of the functional analysis in sociology, a functional paradigm that takes into consideration the actual dimensions of social reality of conformity and deviance, understanding and explaining them. Like other functionalists, he views society as a system of interconnected parts, where the functioning of a part has implications for the functioning of other parts and the entire system. Like his predecessors, he is interested in the concepts of equilibrium and integration and contribution of customs and institutions to the persistence of societies. His definition of function is also in terms of positive contribution of a part to the whole. Functions are those contributions or consequences that make for the adaptation or adjustment of a given system. For the working of society and its institutions, it is important that all share a set of common values and norms, which is another distinguishing property of functionalism. While agreeing with other functionalists on certain points stated above, Merton has made a distinct contribution to a set of two typologies, namely the distinction between the function and dysfunction, and between manifest and latent functions. Most functionalists think that all contributions are inherently good or functional for society, a proposition Merton finds difficult to accept. He thinks there are acts that have consequences which lessens the adaptation and adjustment of the system. Such acts have harmful consequences, the technical term for which is dysfunction. It is therefore expected that the sociologist will always ask for following question: for whom are the consequences functional or dysfunctional? The same function can be functional in one context and dysfunctional in another. All social institutions are expected to have some mix of functions and dysfunctions. Whether the institution tilts to the role of function or dysfunction in a continuum will depend upon the net balance between the functional and dysfunctional consequences. Merton was able to advance four types of explanations in terms of the two dichotomies: function and dysfunction, manifest and latent functions. The earlier functionalists put forth only one explanation, and that too with respect to the latent functions. Merton's conceptual scheme guided empirical research rather than remaining a theory with several explanatory claims, like the grand theory of Parsons. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. With this, we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the self-learning podcast.